Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Strategic Wealth Strategies Podcast with our host, Alan Porter. Alan, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. Beautiful day out here in North Carolina today, Neil.
It's cold in Pittsburgh, so I miss the days of a little bit, but I'm dealing with it for sure. All right, and we're going to talk. Our topic continues to go about retirement plans and why do you contribute? Why should people contribute to a 401k? And I know what your answer is. They shouldn't.
Well, you're right. They shouldn't because when I ask people why you contribute to a 401k, they say, well, it's a tax deduction. And the first thing I tell them, I said, no, it's a tax compounder. I said, because they're going to be taxed at a tax rate that's 20 to 30 years down the road at a tax rate the government decides. That's like you writing a check today, and I don't have to pay you that check that back until 20 years down the road, but you're going to tell me what interest rate I'm going to pay. Well, would you ever sign that check?
And the thing
No.
is, you can't, it's like you're giving your money away. And there's just with the economy going the way it goes or going through different times, there's emergencies and you want to be able to pull it. That's why when we talk about later, why I think it's such a ridiculous thing is why do you want to tie your money up where you can't even ever get a hold of it? Either
Absolutely.
the Dave Ramsey way and the Sue Zorman way, where, yeah, you're tying up your money and you never see it again. Say, yeah, I got my investments. Well, I want to buy my car. I want to buy my boat. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. Or if somehow, God forbid, your kids, you got to bail out. What do you do?
Well, it's just like I had an article I wrote the other day. You got your money in prison in a 401k because you can't touch it till 59 and a half. If you do, it's a 10% penalty. But I asked people, I said, would you rather pay taxes on the seed, the smaller portion, or the harvest? And I said, which one do you think the government wants you to pay? Well, obviously the harvest, the larger portion. But
So what?
people don't
Yeah.
understand. And if they think they're going to be in a lower tax bracket when they go into retirement, as I said before, Neil, Congressional Budget's Office report last fall on a $31 trillion deficit, and now it's 34. If we don't raise taxes overall by 66%, the country will not be able to pay the interest on the debt, and the country will default. I mean, it's crazy.
It's totally. What do you feel like the best retirement plan is, Alan?
Well, I've said this before. I've got this is what I'm doing for myself besides my military retirement. But cash value life insurance, Neil, is the absolute best tax code approved, tax free retirement system available today, without a doubt, with many benefits. And that's just not my opinion. That's the opinion of properly educated and licensed individuals. And but we've been inundated by the propaganda of Wall Street that the 401k is the only way to do it. But see what the employer is doing. They didn't have a 401k until I think 1973, and they had a pension. Well, people don't have pensions anymore. They're about 19% too, but 16% of those people work for the government. And a pension's great because it's guaranteed income. But the thing is, the company was taking all the risk, and now what they've done with the 401k, they put all the risk onto the 100% of the risk onto the individual, and give him a list of options. He has no idea what he's doing because you talk to somebody about stock portfolio. Well, that's what a financial advisor is for. Well, as I said before, a 1% fee in a 30-year period will reduce your income by one third, and the average fee, Neil, on a 401k is 2.99%. People are going to have less than half of their money, and they have no idea about this. Hell, 58% of people don't even think there's a fee in their 401k. I mean, it's
That's
crazy.
ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. And it's because they trust their financial person, right? And you sit down to that financial person, their bottom line is they're looking to make money. And the thing with you is they get fees, they make money if you don't, even if you don't make money. So it's like, and then they look back to you and say, hey, if you pay us more, maybe we'll look out for your money more. But I think it goes back to the days of the piggy bank, right, Alan? You can't break that piggy bank. That's pretty much what a 401k is. You can't really break that piggy bank till you're ready to retire.
Well, you're absolutely right. And then the thing is too, the fees and then the risk in retirement. A stock portfolio can't mitigate or eliminate any risk in retirement. In fact, it only compounds it. And like I said before, there's I've talked to hundreds of clients, and not one of their financial advisors ever told them about sequence of returns risk, which will decimate their retirement if they're invested in a 401k or any stock portfolio. The number one top fear in retirement is running out of money before you run out of life.
What do you, yeah, yeah,
Longevity risk.
no
Uh,
doubt.
Yeah, it's a risk multiplier. I mean, the risk, there's many risks out there that I can mitigate and protect you from and eliminate. But you can't do that with a stock portfolio.
What is Kaizen?
Well, it's pronounced Kaizen, but it's
Kaizen.
one of the best policies for retirement that I've seen in quite some time. Now, this used to be reserved for the wealthy. It's kind of a premium finance life insurance where the banks help you pay for it. But before you had to have $1 million in income and then like $5 million in assets. But now, if it's corporate sponsors, it needed $100,000 in income, or individual, it's 200,000. But as an example, and I got an example here. What I did with this guy, I think he was contributing, as an example, $30,000, $24,000 a year for 5 years, and then the bank matches that $24,000 a year for 5 years. But then the bank puts in $48,000 for the next 5 years. Now, it's kind of like a 401k. You can't touch it for approximately 14 to 15 years because the bank has to be paid back first. And it's put in a trust in Nevada. And understand this, the bank is the primary beneficiary. But think about this. Let's say that death benefit is $750,000, or let's say it's $1 million. And you've gone and you were killed in a car accident in the second year. Well, the bank has put in $48,000 plus interest. They're paid that $48,000 plus interest, and the rest of that $1 million goes to you and your family. It goes to your family, tax free. That's absolutely huge. But it's leverage your money, because
No
what you're
doubt.
doing is leveraging your money 3 to 1, and your income will increase anywhere from 60 to 100% more of tax free money. There's no stock portfolio that can even compare to cash value life insurance as a retirement vehicle because of the benefits. People say, well, I don't want to invest in insurance. I say, well, first off, don't call insurance an investment. It's I don't know, what do you say? It's negative to insurance, because insurance is not an investment. It's an asset into itself. And there's no other financial product out there that can even come close to matching the benefits of life insurance.
Yeah, we had one of the biggest billionaires. I can't remember his name, but he basically agreed with you, Alan. You just check that out on the podcast for sure. That you know what you're talking about. Why is it better than regular indexed insurance policy or whole life?
Well, I've got 5 index universal life policies on myself and my wife, and I got 3 whole life policies. 2 of them are for my granddaughters for the college education, which is the greatest college funding vehicle available, bar none, because we have no market risk. It's self-completing. And then I've got one for my debt-free for life, so I can show my clients how it works. And then I've got the 5 index policies for myself and my wife. And Neil, I didn't start funding these until approximately 12 years ago, because I didn't know about it. How I got started in this business. My daughter-in-law died of pancreatic cancer, and her death benefit was within 1 year of diagnosis, completely tax-free. I had no idea about that. That's when I started learning about this. And next year, all my policies are paid for, Neil. And what we'll have is almost $1.5 million in a death benefit that we can use tax-free for long-term care. And it gives us around $105,000 of tax-free money every year for the rest of our life. Now, Neil, it may be 80,000, but it could be 140,000, because I've used indexing strategies that averaged 1.25% below what it's averaged over the last 25 years. And the great thing about this, it's guaranteed by contract never to have a loss due to market downturn, because we're not tied to the market. And people don't understand these things. It's just like, now I can eliminate the number one fear of retirement, running out of money before I run out of life, longevity risk, which is a risk multiplier, sequence of returns risk. A lot of people don't know what that is, Neil. Let's say that you had a stock portfolio that you're retired from, and you're 65 years of age. And if you have, let's say you had $1 million in there at a 4% distribution rate, that's $40,000 a year, but that's not guaranteed. But if you go at 65 and you take that $40,000 out, the next year you have a 10% decline. Now you have less than $900,000, actually less than $860,000, because you took that $40,000 out, plus you have the fees for the advisor. So you've taken that money out, and here's what happens. You're going to take that same $40,000 out, and now it's not 4% distribution rate, it's 7 or 8. And if it does that again, Now you're 10, 15% distribution rate. And if it does that in the first 2 to 3 years of a 10-year period or a 20-year period, you're going to be out of money by the 8th or 9th year. And people have no idea about it. And I've not had any of my clients tell me their financial planner told them anything about that. And I think that's wrong because they're supposed to be fiduciaries.
What benefits do you have with
Well,
these policies?
it's set up properly in a cash balance plan. It can be tax deductible. It grows tax deferred, just like a 401k, but your distributions are tax free. And it does not affect the taxation of Social Security or the means testing for Medicare Part B. And I've had many people tell me, well, my Roth grows tax free is in distribution. I said, you're correct. Your Roth IRA, your Roth 401k. And they always come back, well, my municipal bonds are. I said, I agree. I mean, I disagree with you because if you buy those bonds and reside in a state other where they're purchased, you have state taxes to pay. And if your state is large enough, you'll have e-state taxes to pay. And they both affect the taxation of Social Security and the means testing for Medicare Part B, which will be in the thousands of dollars per year. But I don't find anybody, or advisors or CPAs, tell them anything about this. But it avoids probate. And probate, a short answer I got for that, it's a lawsuit that's initiated by you that you're going to pay for and you're going to lose. Because Prince the entertainer that died a couple of years ago, he didn't have any exit plan or no will or trust set up. And his beneficiaries are only going to get about 15, maybe 15% of that estate because it's in probate. The government's going to confiscate all those assets and to pay the taxes on his estate. And what's really criminal, attorneys get 6 to 12% of that estate for legal fees. But you become your own bank. You pay yourself compound interest. We've got all this before. You pay yourself compound interest and not the financial institution. You'll never have to worry about the amount of money that you pay in interest on the money that you borrow because you're borrowing from yourself. It's one of the greatest financial vehicles out there. It's the greatest wealth transfer vehicle available. You know, as example, I've got clients that have, they're hundreds of millions of dollars and they've got hundreds of millions of dollars insurance. They don't need the insurance, but what they need is a tax transfer vehicle. They got that tax free. I mean, when they pass away, then that death benefit is tax free and they can pay the taxes on their estate so their family can keep the estate.
So you basically can cash out a cash value life insurance policy or at least borrow against for it and then still have the cash, still have some of it left over for, for the death benefit, right?
Correct. And the thing is, you don't have to wait till 59 and a half to get it. You can access it. I've never borrowed money from a bank, Neil, in over the last 12 years since I've learned this. I borrow from my cash value life insurance and I pay myself back. And it continues. See, when you borrow money from your policy, Neil, it doesn't go against your cash value. It is set as a lien against your death benefit. You don't even have to pay the loan back if you don't want to.
So the lien of the death benefit means that you're going to get less for your beneficiary.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to happen. Of course, it accrues interest. But, if you want to become your own bank, pay yourself back at 0% interest. I show people, I think I showed you this before, how this guy bought a $50,000 car. He paid himself back. And by the time he got that car paid off, if he'd have gone to the bank and paid borrowed $50,000, paid it off in 10 years at 0% interest, he'd have a car, maybe it's worth $30,000, $35,000. But that $50,000 he spent to the bank, that's gone forever. It'll never compound for him. It'll compound for the bank. But if you take that money out of your cash value life insurance and pay yourself back, in this particular situation, this guy made another $10,000 over a 5-year period because it's compounding for him. And now it's going to continue to compound for the rest of his life.
How long until you're able to borrow from your cash value life insurance policy?
Well, I don't like people borrowing unless they're going to pay it back immediately for maybe 10 or 11 years. Now, like the Kaizen plan, it's going to be 14 or 15 years because the bank has to be paid back first. But the thing about this Kaizen plan, Neil, before premium financing, you have to qualify for the loan. You had to pay interest every year. You had to post collateral sometimes. You had to sign the contract. With the Kaizen plan, it's put in a trust in Nevada. You sign no contract. You post no collateral and you pay no interest because the loan it's back. I mean, banks love this because they're guaranteed basically to get their money. Because insurance companies, as I said, are the second strongest financial entity in the world today, bar none, except for the U.S. government. The only reason is because they can pass laws and increase taxes and print money.
So you don't recommend people borrowing till many years later.
Well, not so much because I borrowed when I had some cash value in there. I didn't borrow a few $1,000s. But the thing is, the longer you go, the longer you let it I call it percolate, the more money you're going to get in retirement. Now you can borrow money, but pay it back, because what happens is, like I said, it's not tied to the cash value. That continues to compound.
Right. And that goes back to the contribution. It's almost like a 401k contribution in a way, right? You can contribute to the cash value life insurance policy, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're just paying it, and
Yeah.
that's paying it back to whatever it is. So it's interesting stuff. People definitely are going to have to contact you. Can you give me an example of a client that's done this?
Oh, I can give you several examples.
Mm.
I mean, when I talk to them and tell them about the value of cash value life insurance, because I've got and the numbers don't lie, That's what I love about insurance products. The numbers don't lie. And, I've got this guy that, he was, I think he's 30 years old, and he's just putting like $150 into it. And when he goes, and that's just not a lot for him because he makes good money, but just $150, he could fund it until he's 65. And I think he gets that something like 30 some $1,000s a year tax free for the rest of his life. And he's got his uh, death benefit to protect his family. But here's something I just did today. This lady she's a millionaire, and she has a grandson. And I said, well, listen, this is what we need to do with that grandson. Let's get some money out of your account that's not taxable, and then and protect it from the estate taxes and everything. And let's put this in a trust and fund your grandson who's 20 years old for $24,000 a year for 5 years. That's it. He'll have I think it's over $2.1 million of distributions, and the death benefit still got $1.7 million left in it. I think that's approximately right. But if you'd have put that in a taxable account, it doesn't even come close. I mean, not even close.
Mm-hmm. And then the thing that you said about Alan is that if you do borrow against it early, you just keep paying it back. That's the bottom line, where you're just kind of like, so if you did a cash value life insurance, this is a question that I'm wondering. Let's say you go ahead and get a cash value life insurance policy. It takes time to build up, right? But it has a death benefit for you. But ultimately, if you borrowed against that death benefit, then you just got to start paying right now. So there's a monthly fee. It's not like an annuity. It's a month. Is there a monthly fee once you get that policy that you have to pay?
Well, I've set these policies up. Are you talking about the premium?
Yeah, the premium.
Mm-hmm. The premium, I can set them up from 5 years on. If you want a 10-year policy, I set a 10-year policy. Like this Kaizen plan, it's a 5-year policy. I've got clients that are on their third generation of this Kaizen plan because they're complete, and they're put into tranches. What they have 14 major banks in the United States, and these tranches probably have $200 to $300 million of life insurance in them, and they do, I think, 5 tranches per year. So you're put in with the tranche of banks, and when that happens, then that's the banks are responsible because they're the primary beneficiary, so they're going to get their money back one way or the other. But the thing people ask me is, well, your policy loans, if you don't pay it back, what happens? I said, because you're leveraging arbitrage, and people don't understand this. Let's say with this one company, and I've got 3 policies with one particular company, and if they're guaranteed to charge me 5% for any money that I borrow. I said, okay, but what they're going to do is let's say I had $50,000 in my cash value. They can take that $50,000 and put it to a financial entity, say making 3%. They're going to credit me with the 3%, so I'm only paying 2% for my loan. Now, if I can buy a rider in there, and it's called a wash loan, or be with the company for, say, 10 years. So what they're going to do is they're going to put that $50,000 into a financial entity that's making 5%. They're going to credit me the 5%. So I'm not paying any interest on the money that I borrow. But this is what I do. This is what banks do. This is what wealthy clients do. Banks have been doing it for years.
And business owners are doing it as well to save on their taxes. For sure, using cash value life insurance.
Because here's what happens, Neil. You take that $50,000, and like I said, we're not tied to the market, but we use indexing strategies to increase the value of our money. And let's say that this one particular indexing strategy that's used by this company, I'll just call it the trigger method. If the S&P 500 index goes up, say 0, 1%, or 20%, you're credited with 7%. I don't care. You're not going to make any more than 7%, but you're only paying 5% for your money. You got a 2% arbitrage because they're paying you 7% back. The banks do it every day, Neil. You put $100,000 in a savings account. What do you make now? Maybe 3%. But they'll go loan that money out at 5, 10, 15, 20%, 30% for credit cards. And people don't understand it.
It's crazy. It's a crazy thing. It's exciting, Alan. I mean, it's crazy because people don't talk about it. You listened again. You're building it up on YouTube. People are finally hearing what you're having to say, and a lot of people want to argue with you. If you saw on specifically my TikTok, one of the posts on my TikTok, and we're going to be creating a TikTok for you because the bottom line, Alan, is that I'm telling you, this is really information that's not out there in the public, or a lot of financial people would not be looking at it for sure.
Neil, I love when people argue with me about this, because I call it, I put them under the table.
See, maybe Alan's going to get in the ring with some of these financial guys. There we go. Just like I'm going to get in the ring. But you can contact Alan at Strategic Wealth, the number 0 @gmail.com, or call him at 910-551-1046, or just check out his different websites, social media. I recommend you just go through his little YouTube, because what we do on YouTube, we cut up these little things and say, hey, this is what Alan says. And then you go out and you schedule a call with Alan today. We appreciate it, Alan. Looking forward to another amazing podcast soon. All right, that was the Strategic Wealth Strategy Podcast, guys. Take care.